Inconceivable, Samtar said to his betrothed, the beautiful vampire Keri. The Dawi and the Scaled Ones united against me, defying my rightful claim upon this land. That pyramid should be ours. The power that runs through it would build us an army for the ages. Indeed, my love, Keri responded. The power there is great, but not the only power in the region. Oh, Samta replied. The Dawi do not understand magic, but they dislike those who bet its power. Because of this, they seem to build upon the way markers to guard them from creatures like us. There is another place south of here. The dwarves are stubborn and will fight to the last man, but we do not need to defeat them to acquire what I need. There is a necromancer buried within the cave in the Dawi's control. I have not heard the crypt has been disturbed, so maybe they are unaware that he lies within. If we can distract the dwarves long enough for me to unlock the cave and bring forth the necromancer, it should assist us in our quest to gain the pyramid from the Scaled Ones. You are as intelligent as you are beautiful, my love. Raise our forces and begin our march. The necromancer will be yours within the week. Alright, so we've got a pretty straightforward battle here. Only thing to take note of for missions is the small mausoleum gray building about middle of the board towards the left of this picture. That is the mausoleum that contains the necromancer that the undead are after. To succeed this mission, the undead have to cast a invocation of Nehek that is large enough to include that building in its area of effect. If they do, that will have raised the necromancer from the dead, and he will unlock this character and the lore, or still lore of vampires, but a new wizard-named character for his army. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward, so let's get into deployment. So the dwarves' left flank starts with a gyrocopter just up against that forest. There is also a unit of 20 great weapon warriors with full command. Then there is a unit of 20, I believe it's 24 Iron Breakers. They have full command. With them is Forik, Bearer of the Van, who is the BSB, as well as Gris Stonebeard, the Runesmith, who is counting as his general. Then next to that is a unit of 20 warriors with hand weapon and shield with full command. And then hidden on this side of the board is a gyro bomber. Then on this side we have a unit of 5 dire wolves. Then a unit of 6 chariots, Tomb King chariots. In there is Prince Samta on a chariot, his Tomb Prince, as well as a Tomb Herald on a chariot. Then there's a unit of 20 zombies with Keri, his level 2 level 2 vampire to the lore of vampires. Then a unit of 5 skeletal warriors on horses. Behind that is the Ark of the Covenant thing. I'm blanking on what it is right now. But the thing that all the Tomb Kings players always bring. But yeah, very simple list for the undead, but I definitely think it can work well. And then he also has 3 sepulchral stalkers waiting. They are entombed beneath the sand, waiting to come up. Okay, so first we're showing vanguards, both the skeletal warriors on horses and the dogs. Vanguard up. You'll notice that winged statue in front of the building there is an altar of Cain, so it is providing frenzy to everything within 6 inches. And realistically, it's about the only piece of terrain other than the mausoleum for the mission that really comes into play significantly here. So after vanguards, the dwarves get first turn. A gyrocopter comes flying around here to cause some trouble in the back. And the gyro bomber flies out, drops a bomb right on the direwolves, and kills all but one of them. And then everything in the dwarf army slides forward. He's presenting a solid line, and really not too surprised, because it's pretty standard dwarven operation procedures. So with nothing else going on, goes to undead turn 1. The chariots move up as far as they can. The dog is running back to kind of redirect, protecting things, and hopefully to get close enough where the vampire will be able to pop it with an invocation and bring the unit back up. He turns the skeletal horseman there to present his flank to the Ironbreakers, so that if they charge, they'll hit them and then overrun because they'll be frenzied, and they'll shoot the gap right between where the vampire and the zombies have moved up and the building. And if they run far enough, they'll be way off to the side. If not, the possibility is just hit them with the zombies and just tar pit them for a while and keep them out of trouble. And first turn magic phase, as you can see from the thumbs up, the vampire popped the 12-inch bubble on Invocation of Nehek, which did affect the mausoleum building. Managed to get it off. The dwarves were not able to stop it, and he gets some zombies, and more importantly, succeeds his mission and unlocks the Necromancer. And this just shows his newer block of zombies. Rather than add them to the end, he just switched it out for a block that had 30 people in it. So that's what he's up to now, 30 zombies in that unit. Or 29 zombies plus the vampire in that unit, rather. But he did not catch the dog. It was just a little bit out there, and he didn't want to risk the 18-inch bubble. So the dog is still by itself. So we go to Dwarf turn 2. Gyro Bomber flies over the chariots, drops a bomb on the back end, direct hits it. The guy in the center takes the strength 6 hit, takes the hit, and then rolls 3 wounds, so 1 chariot is blown to Kingdom Come. And here the gyrocopter lines up to roast a big old fat pile of zombies. And here was when the dwarf player forgot that he didn't do his charges before the normal moves, but Skip decided to be a gracious player and let him go back and make the charge, since that was what he wanted to have happen anyway. So the Ironbreakers managed to succeed their charge into the flank of these sacrificial skeletons. They're pretty much going to blow through those guys and hopefully run off somewhere where he doesn't have to deal with them. And now he's broken the dwarf line and may be able to handle it individually. Then over here, the dwarves with the great weapons move into the mausoleum and loot it. He gets a few gold, but there's no character in there, so he now has to keep those guys alive to be able to keep that gold. And here you can see the shooting did kill some zombies, but more importantly, I don't know why I keep wanting to call them Thunderers. The Ironbreakers destroy that unit of skeletons and roll an 11 on their overrun and just tear off. So that's actually really good, because now they're going to take at least a turn to turn around and to come back into things, and that's really what the Undead player wanted. So during Undead turn 2, Skip gets a little tricky. He moves up the chariots so they're in an easy charge of the hand weapon and shield dwarves, and then reforms his zombies so that they're 2 ranks wide but very long. And as part of the reform, moves the zombie down to the other end, so he's now within aura of being able to cast some spells, hopefully to try and regrow some units. He also does sprout up his sepulchral stalkers. He tried to put them behind the hammer and shield unit there, but they scattered really bad, so this is where they end up. Not a super great placement, but it could be a lot worse. And the dwarves were able to stop the magic phase completely, so we go into shooting. The stalkers open up and inflict 2 wounds on the dwarves and kill one of their own guys. Yeah, not really the best result that could have happened there. I want to like the stalkers, but they just don't do well in most cases. So we go to dwarf turn. The dwarves with the hand weapon and shield charge forward to hit the direwolf. Ultimately, his hope is that he'll be able to charge, hit the direwolf, kill them, and on another big overrun, get out of the front arc of the chariots. So we'll have to see how that goes. And then here you see the reform from the Ironbreakers, and the gyrocopter moves a little bit, but not enough to really matter. Then during shooting, the gyrocopter melts about half of the zombies that's there in that unit. And the dwarves do kill the dog, but their overrun is tiny, and they stop where they're at. You can also see the gyro bomber kind of placed himself in a weird position here. I think the idea was to kind of block up and stop the chariots from hitting those dwarves and overrunning and ending up in the Ironbreakers, but I'm not even entirely sure how that would happen. So I'm not really sure why the dwarves put the bomber here. So we Also had the dwarves exit the mausoleum last turn. So during the next undead turn, the chariots slam right into the flank of those dwarves. That's some bad news. And then the stalkers reform so that they basically could turn around. They don't have a swift reform, so the idea is they turn around so they can stand and shoot when the dwarves come at them. Then during normal movement, the necromancer, realizing that her zombies are about to die, bails out of the unit and hides behind the chariot guys. And during magic, they get off Hellish Vigor, so rerolls to wounds. The chariots absolutely demolish the dwarves. There's 3 of them left. They break, run, escape, and then the chariot clips the end of the gyro bomber, so they have to essentially redirect their charge, or their overrun like this, so they're going to go into him for combat next turn. So, Dwarf's turn. Dwarfs charge into the Stalkers. Stalkers try and stand and shoot, inflict a single casualty on the Dwarves, and take another 2 wounds on the Stalker in the back. Oh boy, they're terrible. And then rather than being out in the middle where the chariots can get them, the Ironbreakers decide to go hide in this building, which is a Grail Chapel, and they end up looting it. So after combat, it looks like this. The chariots first, the Great Weapon Dwarves destroy the Stalkers and overrun like this because they're frenzied and have to. Then the chariots kill the Gyro Bomber and turn around to face a beautiful flank charge into those Great Weapon Dwarves. Then during the Undead Legion's turn, chariots charge the dwarves. The dwarves choose to flee. Chariot catches them and kills them. Now, I'm not sure if we did this right. But after we caught and killed him, he reformed. It may be right, it may not, but ultimately it doesn't matter, because the Iron Breakers are hiding in the building, and there's no way those chariots are going after them in the building. Then during the rest of the movement, the vampire runs to the tower. She can't quite enter it, but she's planning on doing so next turn so she can loot it. So then we go to Dwarf's turn. The Ironbreakers leave the Grail Chapel on the other side. They're going to try and run down and get their points out of the Ark of the Covenant thing. It's not been doing a whole lot all game, other than giving him some magic dice, but it is 135 points, so we'll see what happens. And during shooting, the gyrocopter is still working on these zombies, end up killing them down to 3 zombies. So Undead Legion's turn, they basically turn around and swift reform and then come on up on top of the hill, trying to get within charge range of something before the end of the game. And Vampire goes into the building and loots and gets a few gold. So we go into the Dwarves' turn, and the Ironbreakers make I believe this is their 3rd consecutive movement roll of a 10 or higher. So they charge right into the Ark of the Covenant there. And really the Undead's only hope is with the killing blow on the guys on the back. He's going to try and snipe the general out of the unit because he's sending the general into it. So we'll see how well that works. And over here, the gyrocopter decides that it's tired of roasting things and is going to go ahead and charge into the 3 zombies. So in combat, it does kill them and overruns and ends up where you see it now. He's basically trying to give the chariot something other than those Iron Breakers to charge at, which I think the Iron Breakers would need like an 11 or a 12 to hit them anyway, so I don't know how much this is actually going to help. But his thought is if he charges the gyro, he'll flee, and maybe the chariots won't be able to catch. So then the combat goes on here. Iron Breakers tear into the casket. They do end up killing it, but not before the killing blow strikes the Runesmith General. So he dies. Then the casket explodes, kills 2 more dwarves, but no big deal. Then turn 6 for the undead results in a charge from the chariots into the gyrocopter. The gyrocopter tried to flee and went 3 inches and was run down by the chariots, and that was game. Forik watched as his warriors fell to the onslaught of the undead chariots, and he sounded the withdrawal. If they wanted some useless crypt, they could have it. If anything, the lives that had been lost were a waste. Had the dead the mind for diplomacy, they could have simply traded. Now, though, Forik would be honor-bound to claim vengeance for those who had fallen. The dwarf quickly made his way back to the stronghold that they had been working on. It was here that Forik sent his Dawi to the various tasks and went to have a word with the detachment of hammerers that had joined them. As he entered the makeshift tavern, he felt the room shift as their hulking forms turned to acknowledge the Thane's interests. "Thane," the captain called out, "come to drink, or have you come to start claiming your blood oaths?" Forik quickly stared down the captain for the subtle insult. "Gather your men. We're going to show them that we have yet to truly show our teeth." The Thane quickly turned and began to leave, but before exiting he whispered loud enough for the captain to hear. "I'll forgive this instance for your father, but I will not do so the next time." With his gathering of the hammerers, he went and summoned the remainder of his force, bringing both Rolus and Gris along. This time he would not set out to defend. This time it was for vengeance. So this turned out to be a great game for Skip. He did claim the victory by 193 points. So the Undead Legion did unlock their new Necromancer character. He also gained 14 gold pieces, and due to his victory, gained a Regiment of Renown, and he chose the Chariots, the 6-man chariot block he'd brought, and they gained Devastating Charge. He's not come up with a name for him yet, but hopefully by the next battle report he puts them in, we'll have a name for the Regiment of Renown. So definitely a good game for him, and a strong showing by the Undead. And a rough game for the Dwarves. They gained nothing because the only gold they had taken was with the Great Weapon Warriors, and they were killed by the Chariots. And when he attempted to loot the Grail Chapel with his character in there, it was trapped. And I think he might have lost one character in there, but either case, the Dwarves have definitely had enough of being beaten in the face by the Undead and seem to be wanting to go on the offensive, so we'll see where that takes them in the narrative. All in all, it was a lot of fun. This was a great game to watch, and it was nice to see Skip get a win. I know there's a lot of people who are out there pulling for him, so it was definitely a good game. Hopefully he'll start getting a good grip on the Undead, and now that he's mixing a little bit more, we'll see where it goes. But thank you guys for watching. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Otherwise, we will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.